Classic Hits, My 105.9 on Friday morning, and a very, very special guest joining me over the phone this morning. A huge pleasure for me this morning, Mr. Henry Rollins. Good morning to you.
Hey, man, how are you?
Henry is taking us on the frequent flyer tour. He's coming to the historic Babcock Theater downtown next Wednesday night, which, Henry, just happens to be my birthday.
Oh, wow. Well, that'll be great. Happy birthday to you in advance.
Thank you. I'll definitely be at the show. We're all looking forward to it around here. Henry's a musician, singer, songwriter, actor, activist, world traveler, radio DJ, comedian. What do you do in your free time?
Try and sleep and keep sanity.
There you go. You run your own record label, book publishing company, your Grammy award-winning, you won that for audiobook, correct?
Yeah, sure did.
Back in 94 when you were nominated for Best Heavy Metal Performance for Liar as well. Talking about music, I guess you were lead singer of Black Flag back in 81 to mid-80s, right around there, and then Rollins Band after that. I've always been a big fan of your books, Think Tank, one of my favorite books of all time. And lately, we've been... Henry Rollins' show on IFC has been one of the best things that I've seen as of late. I really like the letters to the people that you do.
Yeah, we had some fun with that.
I actually watched quite a few of them last night on their website, and always good stuff. Of course, you're involved heavily with the USO and this big spoken word thing, which is, I guess, basically what we're talking about mostly today.
Yeah, well, that's the tour I'm on right now, is the talking shows. I'm about 90 shows into the tour so far since mid-January.
Very cool. We were talking about trying to get an interview with you last week, but you were interviewing with the South African press. What was going on with that? I know you travel all over the place. You just got back to the States?
Yeah, I just got back from South Africa yesterday afternoon. I went from Cape Town to London. Had to wait in London for a while for the volcano to let us go, so the flight was delayed. And then I got here yesterday around 3 o'clock in the afternoon to Los Angeles.
All right, very cool. What are some of the things you're going to be talking about on the Frequent Flyer Tour that we're going to see next Wednesday?
Well, a lot of the travel that I've been doing as of late, I've been going pretty far and wide. I travel as much as possible for one reason or another. Sometimes it's for shows, sometimes it's just so I can walk into a place and see what's going on. And so I'll talk about all that. It's a very interesting time in America. There's a lot going on, and there's perhaps some interesting perspectives to be drawn about America and other countries where you think they're different, but the histories are kind of the same. Where it might be of interest. And so, having just come from South Africa, which has a pretty intense rear view mirror, you might be surprised to see how similar the two countries were in the last century.
Right. And I'm looking forward to hearing the stories. I'm a big fan of storytellers. Johnny Cash, I rate you right up there with Johnny Cash as one of the greatest storytellers ever. And I think one of the reasons you're such a good storyteller is because you live life so you can tell the story. When I see you do things like when you stayed in Nelson Mandela's cell.
Yeah, I was in his office the other day in Johannesburg. He wasn't there. But I was allowed to go to his foundation, and they gave me kind of the lay of the run of the place. And I was in his office for several minutes, just looking at the stuff on his desk, and the photos that he has closest to his desk are very interesting. There's a photo of him and Clinton and a photo of him and Barack Obama.
That's amazing.
Pretty cool.
You get to witness some pretty amazing things. When you were in Iraq, you do things that maybe other people don't choose to do when they're on vacation, I guess, like Saddam Hussein's son's rape room. Yeah, that was. I slept in that bedroom. Yeah, that was the hooks were in the ceiling, so I guess he could winch the women up. Yeah, I mean that guy Uday Hussein. He was a real bad character. Is that why you do things like that? Is so you can tell the story?
Well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, I was in Iraq on a USO tour, so primarily my purpose for being there was to hang out with the troops. But
right.
Certainly, yeah, you get some real access in those places, and I can come out of there with a story to tell, and that definitely allows me to give you the audience a pretty good tale. If something interesting happens, I can't make it up. If it's boring, it just has to be boring. But as you know, more often than not, things are really interesting. And you just have to kind of find the story in the information. That is not always the easiest thing, but that is actually the job.
Sure. And speaking of stories, you're notoriously against fast food restaurants. I guess a lot of corporate things, but mostly fast food restaurants. And that kind of brings me to the Subway experience that you had a few years back. The story about
where I heard the guy on the phone.
Yeah, the Subway sandwich shop. That story always, it always, I don't know, man, it touches my heart. I think it's a really great story. Is there a chance that you got a few minutes to just...
Well, I mean, I don't... I was in a Subway, because the tuna fish sandwich on, if you have no time, it's not a bad meal. It's the kind of food I try to avoid. I haven't been in McDonald's for like 23 years. I just think that kind of processed food is just not good, healthy for a human.
Right.
But I was listening to this, fellow behind the counter. I was waiting for him to get off his cell phone before he could take my order. And he has, a lot of tattoos, looked like a pretty tough guy. And he was having this very intense conversation on the phone. And whoever he was on the phone with, he was requesting that this person bring some female to the store immediately. Like, bring her here now. And it was very heavy. And he hung up the phone and looked at me and said, "You probably want to know what that's about." And I went, "Well, sure. If you want to tell me, that's pretty heavy." And he said that his daughter, his wife, and he had come to the decision that they could no longer handle their daughter because she fights and she's hitting kids and pushing against the teachers. And they said that they had made their mind up that they were going to give her to the state. And he wanted her to be brought to the shop so he could tell her. And then he could go back to his shift. And then he said, "And so what can I get you?" And you see, it's a quick purview into what so many Americans face on a daily basis. I mean, being an American is really hard work.
I feel like that story is a good lesson on first impressions, too.
Yeah. And it's hard to see these people going, when so many Americans have been put through so much. It's tough. I mean, this guy, I'm sure his day just getting through it is amazing. The challenges, just getting to the dinner table is a pretty heavy experience. And then, on top of all of that, he's trying to keep this family going at a Subway. I mean, that's just a lot of gear, I felt for the guy.
I can feel your empathy in it because you haven't always been, a rich, famous rock star, writer and things like that. You started off kind of the same way as most people do, right?
Well, I come from the minimum wage working world. That's what I know. Things got better later, but it's not the money that makes the person. It's the work ultimately. But yeah, I know about missing some meals and all of that. Keeps you humble. If you can never forget any of that, you never really lose your perspective.
Right on. We'll play a little game called First Thing That Comes to Mind with me.
I'll do my best.
I'm going to throw out just a word, and you throw out the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
No, I'll try.
Okay, how about the 80s?
Well, I had a good time in the 80s, so it was I was on tour every single year of the 80s. So it was a good time for me.
All right.
Good time for music.
How about Glenn Beck?
He's an entertainer. I don't know how seriously he takes himself. It's how seriously other people take him that's worrying.
There you go. Techno music.
Well, it can be interesting, but it kind of keeps the human at a distance. And I like my heart in music, so I like that analog sound a bit more than what someone's coming up with on a computer. Although, it has its moments. When a car's passing you by, it sounds interesting as the Doppler effect, as it's going down the road. And it fades with distance, which is pretty nice.
How about our future?
Oh, it's bright. Absolutely.
Bill Maher.
I think Bill's amazing. I mean, I think he's smart. I always watch his HBO documentaries with a great deal of interest. I consider myself a fan.
I as well. One last one. Change.
Well, don't fear it. You got to do it. It's tough. Change is hard. As a man hurtling towards 50, there's been a lot of things I've had to accept. So.
Very cool. Henry, we're looking very forward to the Frequent Flyer Tour coming to the Babcock next Wednesday night. I'm looking forward to seeing. One last question for you. Can you tell us what you want to be remembered for?
Oh, just working really hard. Because that's the only thing that has ever gotten me anywhere was hard work.
All right, cool. Looking forward to it, Henry. Thank you much for your wisdom and your writings and all you do for us.
All right, man. I'll see you soon. I'm looking forward to it.
Very cool.